In all the movies, guys, there's always a good guy and there's always a bad guy. There's always a good force and there's always a bad force. It's just natural. It's what tends to happen. You have good, you have evil. And when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to your income, there is, for example, a powerful wealth building tool out there. And that wealth building tool is obviously going to be your income, because without any income, well, what can you actually do? Nothing, because you have actually no money. But there's also something that goes against your income's enemy. And those are going to be all of the expenses you actually get yourself into. Now, by the way, some expenses are actually necessities. So you have to spend money on shelter. You have to spend money on food, on transportation, on utilities. These things are not actually optional, or else you would be living in a box like Squidward did in that episode, okay?
Spare change, ma'am.
But for the most part, there are a lot of things within that are actually optional and you don't need to spend as much money on. So, for example, for this video, we're talking about, for example, what would happen if you were to invest your car payment? How much money would that actually give you? Now, obviously, if you're investing your car payment, it also means, for example, you are keeping a car for a very long time, or at least like paying cash for a car. That's the idea right there. Now, what are the whole facts here? Well, first of all, the average person is spending a whopping $716 per month on a car payment. I mean, that's a lot of money to me, if you ask me, okay? Now, on top of that, it's taken the average person about 6 years to finish paying off a car. So 6 years. Paying from your income, which is supposed to be your strength, $716. That is a massive handicap when it comes to building wealth. Now, obviously, guys, as you know, when somebody walks into a dealership, they're not wondering, hey, can I afford to pay $30,000 for a car? The answer is usually they don't worry about that. They worry about, can I afford to make those monthly payments? And that's the wrong mindset. They don't think about, hey, is this car going to last me a very long time? Is it reliable? Is it safe? No, they care about, is this car nice and can it actually last me for about 5 years, and then can I trade in for something else? All right, that's the whole idea. But I'm going to crash that in this video, so make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, okay? Now, number one, guys, is going to be this. Here's an interesting fact, okay? The average car is actually built to last. Now, I want to start here first because we're talking about ending a car payment and buying a car in cash and buying used cars, which people are not really a big fan of, okay? Now, I have this very anecdotal piece of evidence of mine in a sense, but I tend to think that the best cars out there are the cars you see the most out there on the road that are pretty old, and they're also very reliable. And for me, the ones that I've absorbed with my own eyes have been, for example, Toyota Corollas, Honda Accords and Civics and Mazda's CX-3s. Like, you see a lot of those cars. Sometimes you might see a Mitsubishi, but you rarely ever see a super old Mercedes, a super old Porsche. You do see Lexus, but you rarely see other car brands, because in reality, those cars are not actually built to last. Now, here's something I want to put into perspective. Whenever you're actually thinking about buying a car used and you're saying, this car is going to give me trouble, it's not going to last. First of all, you have depreciation, okay? So 5 years into owning a car, that car usually loses about 40 to 50% of its value, meaning you get a half off discount, okay? So if you're buying somebody's car that they bought for 30 grand, you get to pay 15 grand for it. That is a big discount, so it makes a lot of sense. Now, on top of that, cars today, from the right companies, they're actually built to last a very long time, about 250,000 miles to about 300,000 miles. And of course, I'm talking about Toyotas, Hondas, Mazdas, not BMWs, not any of those cars. You could include Lexus in there because Toyota makes Lexus, but those are the cars that tend to last the longest. Now, if you're asking me, Tommy, how long does 250K miles last me? Or how long does 300K miles last me? The answer is, if you're driving like 12K miles a year, like the average American, well, that's about 20 to 25 years. That is a very long time. Now, for perspective here, that means if you buy a car that's like 5 or 10 years old, it shouldn't really scare you if it's actually pretty good and solid, because it means it still has a lot of life left in it. On top of that, I saw this guy. he actually drove a car, a Volvo, for about 1,000,000 miles. It was like over 30 years. And he told me, hey, well, he didn't tell me, I watched it in the video. He had a few replacement here and there, engine replacement. But when you actually associate all the costs to actually keep that car running, it was still less expensive than trading in a car every 5 years and buying a new one. It's like, hey, you know what I'm gonna do every 5 years? I'm gonna spend 30 grand, turn it into 50 grand, 15 grand, and then buy 30 grand again, and then turn it again to 50. It's a stupid idea, and you don't want to do it because by year 2, you already lost $30,000, okay? So it's the best way to actually do it. Buy a reliable car that you actually like, is going to give you what you need, convenience and safety and all those factors, and actually just drive it, take care of it until the wheels basically fall off, and that's going to be around 20 to 25 years if you are taking care of your car. And don't be afraid of things breaking. Have some extra money on the side for replacements. That's more than fine. Now tell me, what would happen if I invested that $716 per month for those 25 years at a good percent return of maybe like 10% or so? Now, what would I put that money into? Me personally, I would put that money into the S&P 500. Those are the 500 largest companies in the US, basically Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, all those big companies you're investing your money into. So the only way you actually lose is basically if America goes down. But if America goes down, so does the currency, so does the country. And at that point, nothing really matters. And the whole world is so intertwined where, hey, things don't matter that much. Now, for the past 72 years, the average return has been a little bit above 10%. And that's why I'm using 10% as a rationale for this video, or as a little carrying stick or whatever, a measuring pole or whatever you want to call it. Now, here I actually have a little calculator, okay? So here is the information. How do I move this stuff over? I am such an old person, but I'm going to put it right here. All right, that looks pretty good, I guess. Okay, so if you started off, for example, with an initial investment of $1, and you invested every single month about $716, and you did this for a whopping 25 years at a 10% return, well, at the end of the day, you would end up with a whopping, there you go, $845,000. Now, I know this seems like, Tommy, but to wait 25 years to see this much money is such an insane amount of time. And to say I'm not going to switch cars for 25 years, that's just ridiculous, okay? But I know. But think about this, okay, guys? Let's say you made it, for example, just 10 years instead of, for example, 25 years, okay? How much money would you have then? The answer is a whopping $136,936.95. Now, you want to know what the cool thing actually is, guys, okay? The cool thing for me is if you have, at the end of this road of 10 years, okay, you bought a Toyota Corolla 2017, you rode it until 2027, and you're like, okay, I'm tired of this car. It's worth like $5,000 now. I want to get rid of it. I want to buy another used Corolla, another used Honda, or whatever the most reliable cars are then. Well, if you have a whopping $136,000 in your account, in your investment account, right? If you just took, for example, let's say 5% of that money, that would be a whopping $6,800. Plus the sale of the car, $5,000, plus whatever money you actually want to add, you're actually able to buy a good car. My point is, guys, okay, remember, when you're trying to build wealth and that is your overall goal, the answer is you can work towards that. Now, this is just with this idea, okay? But in reality, you could spend those 10 years saying, hey, I'm going to set aside like $200 a month or like $100 a month to save up. So when I'm buying my another car or my next car, I have some extra money to buy maybe a sweeter car or whatever you actually want to do. But it's not necessary to go out there and flex and spend a bunch of money on trash. So overall, this is just one way to save money in one part and invest it, but you can save money from your car payment, you can save money from your mortgage, you can pay money from your debts, and all that money could just be used, for example, for investing, and that could actually bump up your investing by a lot more. But it's cool to see just with a car payment that you're not paying, you could actually end up in 25 years with almost $1 million. That is massive. That is big, okay? And if you actually withstand that and you're like, hey, nah, I'm gonna last this whole whole 25 years. Well, after 25 years of investing that much money, multiply that by 0.5%. Like 5% is what you'll actually take out to do whatever you want to do for that moment. The answer is that's a whopping $42,000. I mean, what car can't you buy for that price? Okay, it's a good chunk of money. That's the idea, guys. Okay, but overall, thanks for watching. Comment down below and let me know this. Okay, guys, if you look over your budget and you see all the places where you actually spend the money that you don't need to spend money, how much does that actually add up to between a car payment, between your debt payment, your loan payments, all the things you actually don't need? Like, how much does that actually add up to? And you've been paying that much monthly for a while now. So what would happen if you actually grab that money and put it, for example, into the S&P 500? Okay, that's the idea. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. Up here is another video. Over here is my face. And as always, long-term team officially out.